back, even as you're watching and you're 18 years and above. I know you're looking forward to 2027, so you can exercise your patriotic, right of voting in the leader you want, voting out the leaders that have not performed and that you wish that are out of leadership. Very, very important. But the question is, who is undertaking that exercise of registering you, who just turned 18, as an active voter? Essentially, that's why we need a fully constituted IEBC. If I look back at the words of the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, he said, to entrench Kenya's democratic credentials, there is the urgent need to reconstitute the IEBC in a very transparent manner. And that's what got us here, because we need this reconstitution done in the most transparent manner possible. But there are concerns around the judiciary and how the judiciary is handling the matter. And as you've heard the panelists in studio also refer to the voice of Isaac Lenaola, a Supreme Court judge, and he said, and I quote, "How can a country like ours stand on its feet if it doesn't have a functional electoral commission?" He says elections are in 2027 and this is 2024. When will this commission be prepared? I'm going to get that bite by the Supreme Court judge, but as we do that, I know you also spoke about it, and that's why I've mentioned him. Yes. So if my team can quickly put that bite together, Isaac Lenaola's voice on the matter. In fact, I'm told we have it. Let's just listen to it, and then we can proceed with what you were saying earlier on in as far as the position of the judiciary is concerned. Is the judiciary to blame at this point in time? Let's listen in.
Passing legislation very quickly on other subjects that are politically important, but we don't look at what is extremely important for this country. The Electoral Commission. How can a country like ours stand on its feet if it does not have an electoral commission?
Now, there is always something, when we are dealing with national issues, and he's saying we need to fast track this just as much as we fast track other matters perceived as more important for the nation to move forward. And that's what I think Esther also asked. I mean, what is the end goal? We are now waiting for the courts to declare themselves, but you're saying you will fight on. You will fight on, depending on, you even said further to the East African, if it has to reach that far. But don't you think at that point in time you'll be derailing a whole country over just one representation in the selection panel? Is it worth it?
Asga, what you need to ask yourself, what is this specific interest and what is this thing about the IEBC selection panelists?
Yes. That
a factional group of politicians want to fight so hard for it that they can't let it go so that the country can move forward. There are people in this country who believes that the country belongs to them. For them, they want an IEBC that is answerable and accountable to them as the political class. But for us, we want an IEBC that is answerable and accountable to the people of Kenya. We don't want an IEBC that is going to serve individual political interest. We want an IEBC that will act independently according to what is required of them by the law. Now, what is the end game? Mm-hmm. As parties who are in court, we had actually beseeched our sister parties in Azimio, led by Wiper Party, that they lost and they should accept the election results. They should accept the court verdict. But now, because the court is pending, the case is pending at the Court of Appeal, as a party, we are requesting the judiciary to fast track the process of constituting the three-judge bench so that the matter can be heard very quickly. Actually, this is a matter that can be heard even within a span of 1 week, so that the country can start the process of reconstituting IEBC, so that we don't continue disenfranchising the millions of Kenyans who continue to go unrepresented in various wards, various constituencies, at the detriment or because a few political leaders cannot agree on a selection panelist. But going forward, I think this is a lesson to Kenyans that they need actually to continue doing that civic duty that they've been doing. And I call upon the political class of this country. The generation you are dealing with today is not the generation of your Kanu days. This is a more informed generation. The generation of Alpha, the generation of Gen Z, and the generation of the millennials are actually so proactive on the governance issues that you cannot take them for a ride. You can't lie to them always, because they will always know the truth. And when they know the truth, that is when you shall realize that your time is up. So I call upon them, let's smell the coffee. Let us allow the constitutional process to continue. If there is someone who lost in the election, let them allow the process to be undertaken so that we can have an IEBC in place.
Let's get clarity here. And according to this report that I'm having here, it's contrary to the story or your presentation today. According to this report, according to Kalonzo Musyoka's faction, Muli's appointment, that is Augustus Muli, did not meet the required constitutional threshold as his National Liberal Party has no representation in Parliament. In fact, the court upheld the case. In early October, according to this report, the court ordered Azimio to appoint a new representative by 24th October, a directive that paved the way for the appointment of Koki Muli, who they term a close ally of Kalonzo. Now, however, I think there are other Muli, because we're talking about two Mulis, it's very important, Augustus Muli and Koki Muli, has gone to the Court of Appeal to, of course, appeal the directive, a move which further delays the constitution of the panel. Now, if in all honesty, because I want to hear from Esther Waringa, some would argue that some of these concerns are justified. Is there a representation of the National Liberal Party in Parliament?
National Liberal Party do not have a member of Parliament.
All right. So that is factual.
It is factual.
All right.
Going by the reading of the law, and I draw your attention to Part 2B, 3 of the IEBC Amendment Act of 2024.
2024, okay.
It reads, one shall be from a minority party or coalition of parties, full stop.
No representation in Parliament.
No representation in Parliament. That is what the law states. So it is just a clever way of finding on how, when you want to kill a dog, you first of all give it a bad name in the village. And I call upon His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka. Once a cat has declared that you want to be a lion, you must first of all desist an attempt of even smelling and even having an appetite for rats. This is a very small matter for a person who wants to run for the presidency. We do not want to hold the country at ransom for the longest over what we call trivial issues. There was an election that was held and your candidate lost. Just like the same way you feel it is your right to have your person nominated at the selection panel. Where your right ends is where my right begins. I think it is high time that we put this house in order, and that explains the reason as to why you never had our Secretary General in Azimio, Mheshimiwa Junet Mohamed, comment on this matter. Why has our party leader in Azimio never commented on this matter? Because all of them know the truth. There is no any single political party leader in Azimio who has even come to the defense of Wiper Party, because they know they lost in an election.
It is not because of the broad-based government. Some would just ask that question. Let's hear from Esther Waringa. Esther, I know you're also in touch with the ground. Yeah, and we also had the National Council of Churches of Kenya, on Tuesday, I think that was last week, give an ultimatum on this matter. They essentially also want the election commission to be reconstituted. We're talking about, wards and certain constituencies that, even as we are looking at the politics playing out, do not have representation. And you know how critical bureaucracy can be and how the law works and the structures. There's certain things these people cannot have, probably don't even have. What do you think is the solution? What really would you speak of? Besides the doing away with the elections, what really would be a solution at this point? We need to move.
Very well. One of the most progressive solutions that the politicians can give to this country is unity of purpose. And what is the purpose? Smooth transition 2027. And what action thereof is for them now to focus on the challenges that has challenged the process towards establishment of the IEBC. And like what my brother is just here saying, if we have people like Kalonzo Musyoka and other leaders, including the judiciary, we've seen a very senior Justice Renaura talking about the IEBC, and that in itself shows the weight of the matter, is a very clear indication that this matter is very weighty And if we don't take action, I would not want to go back to what I said, that Kenyans are getting a little bit tired of politics, which is real. We want to see things moving. We want to see a sober team being constituted towards realization of IEBC commissioners. And the only thing that can happen right now is to employ some level of goodwill. And the politicians must realize that this country is very, very much important than any political party, than any politician or any individual at all.
But hasn't that been said over and over? Even the late George Saitoti said
beautiful.
It. But it's becoming a song?
Unfortunately, it's becoming a song, and it shouldn't be, because this is the reality, that as we talk right now, Kenya is very, very much important, and that's why the religious readers and Justice Renaura are very, very concerned. And away from them, even Wanjiku, the Mama Boga, they would want to see a conducive, peaceful environment for either doing business, a conducive business environment, a conducive governance environment for tourism, for attracting investors, a conducive governance environment for taking our children to school, for farming and everything. But this cannot happen if we continue playing political games. And I call upon leaders to sober up. Anki, I call upon all politicians, and especially those who are involved, like what he has just put it. He has just put it very well. I was reasoning very keenly that whoever has been mentioned in the entire of this IEBC process, can we sober up? Can we consider Kenya as important more than our individual political interest? Because at the end of the day, what we read from what he has just submitted is that there is a high possibility of some politicians delaying the process for their own political self-interest and for their own political gain. Can we shelve the political self-interest and focus on if Kenya is to ban 2027 because of an individual?
That's a very strong, very strong statement.
It is a strong statement, so that they can think twice. Sorry for using that statement. It's good to think again and again. No, I'm not saying thinking twice in the normal streets language, but thinking again and again. That why should I hold a whole country at ransom because of an action that I can be able to serve my own personal interest and execute what is supposed to be done? And this is what we call, if any leader would want to come into leadership, and most of them are presidential candidates, what does the Constitution talk about any presidential candidate, including myself? Responsibility, accountability. And when I talk about accountability, we are running short of time on matters constitution of IEBC. If you are an accountable leader and you would want to be an accountable head of state 2027, the time to start is right now.
So what can President William Ruto do? Because you're bringing him in the picture in this conversation. Where does his hand come in, as you're saying he should be accountable to Kenyans at this point? Remember the NADCO report?
Yes.
You remember him extending the olive branch, saying, okay, my brother, let us talk, and that is what brought forth the NADCO report. Where does President William Ruto come in play now? As you're saying?
The backstop with him.
Okay.
He is the head of state and government. He is the head of state and government. And if things are to move on smoothly, President Ruto have a say and a hand in it. And as the head of state and government, I'm not saying that the independence of the judiciary should be interfered with by the executive, no. But being the head of state, with all the instruments of power, he can be able to guide all these political class that are all around, all these institutions that are supposed to give us the 9 commissioners. He has a hand in it. He can be able to give his executive word. Yeah, that look, guys, we are running short of time. I'm the head of state. I would want to see a very smooth transition in 2027. Kindly do 1, 2, 3, 4 judiciary, do this parliamentary service commission, do this, the various institutions. You know, the head of state, I know we have independence of institution, but at the end of it, the buck stops with him as President Ruto. And consider a scenario whereby the president, allow me to use whispers to the judiciary. Kindly, dear ones, I would want to see the country transit in a smooth process 2027. Whispers means Not the tone that he's talking these days. We are hearing of this, we are hearing of madness.
You know, these whispers can be misinterpreted. Now that we're talking about an independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, an independent judiciary.
No.
You must be careful with the whisper.
You know, the whisper.
So that I can hear from Omondi as well.
Exactly.
Because Kenyans seem not to like this whispering.
Whisper,
idea.
I mean, that submission, you are the head of state, but you are giving a directive in a very humble manner. You know, we have seen 2-3 days when he's talking about people are mad, people are, whispering means humble yourself to that level, knowing that you don't want the country to burn.
All right.
Kindly judiciary, can we execute this within the timeline, within the stipulated timeline? And then Parliament, are we able to address this within the shortest time possible? There is a way that you can be able to execute or implement your power without necessarily, that level of humility. I think it speaks volumes. Can be able to do a lot to save the situation.
Yes, because I want to come back to you.
Go ahead.
We just have a few minutes to wrap this up. Omondi, as you're listening to the president of the PSG here, she's even brought in the words like humility. Humble yourselves. I do not know what then you would say to this matter, because beyond, far and above, a very strong constitution that shows you all in your political parties the essence of having this independent electoral and boundaries commission reconstituted as early as yesterday. Now this tug of war, if I put it that way, seemingly endless, is trickling down to lack of representation to a number of people just because we're not able to, agree in as far as that representation is concerned. I do not know what you foresee for the country if we delay further, or if you have to go to the higher levels of the corridors of justice, and like you're saying, and beyond. What then do you foresee for the country if you delay further, including the civic education for the voters, the registrations, the financing, all these other things? What do you see in the future if you cause this delay to extend?
Thank you. First, I strongly disagree with my sister here about the whisper.
About the whisper.
The Constitution of Kenya gives a clear cut on the separation of powers from the legislature to the executive to the judiciary.
Right.
You've seen the kind of rage and anger that Kenyans have and the frustrations that the Kenya Kwanza regime is having today, because there is a serious trust deficit between the citizenry and the Kenya Kwanza ruling class. Currently, where we stand, the judiciary should actually move with a lot of speed and conclude this matter. As a party, we shall respect the courts and we shall respect the decision that they shall make, even if they make that decision tomorrow, that it is us who are rightfully and legitimately represented in the selection panel, then we shall respect that. If they rule otherwise, we shall also respect that. But we do not expect the president at any given moment to whisper anything to anyone. He's got so much, his hands are full. Let him deliver his promises to the people of Kenya. We don't expect any slightest interference from the presidency to the judiciary. On this matter of continued delay of reconstitution of IEBC, it is very sad that if we continue on this same trajectory, then I can only guarantee the country that we cannot have a free, fair, and verifiable election in 2027. Remember, election preparation is a very complex web.
Right.
It requires a lot of technological advancements. It needs a lot of training and capacity building among the staff. You need to actually put your people, especially this issue of voter registration. You remember in the last general election, we had about 22 million registered voters. But since 2022, the 2019 census actually focuses and places that almost 35% of Kenyans are the youth. That takes it to almost 30 million Kenyans, or 25 million Kenyans who are above the age of 18, between 18 to 35. So if we do not reconstitute IEBC in time, then it is going to be a very big disservice not only to various electoral constituencies that are going unrepresented, but to the whole nation. And actually that one, I think, will be taking us back to the democratic gains that we have achieved thus far. And, you know, Kenya, we celebrate one of the most progressive constitutions in the world. The only problem that we have as a republic is the lack of political goodwill to make sure that the various constitutional provisions that we have are implemented without political interference. Yes.
All right, thank you very much for creating time. I don't know, Esther, if you have just in 30 seconds something to say in as far as the future is concerned. Just 30 seconds.
Very well. The future is calling for accountability, transparency, responsibility of all leaders, knowing that we have a big responsibility ahead towards transition of government 2027. And I must say that I must repeat the words that have been repeated over time, that Kenya still remains bigger than any political individual. So it's a high time that wherever you are, whether judiciary, whether in the political setup, that Kenya remains bigger than any individual. So let us execute it speedy. Otherwise, the Kenya Bila Uchaguzi Bill on its way. We have to do away with general elections in this country. Time will tell.
Time will tell. I think I'll take that one. Time will tell. But of course, we have to take action when it comes to running a country. We just wouldn't leave it to time. We need action. And of course, I've challenged as well right here in the studio. I want to appreciate Esther Waringa, who is the President, Public Service Governance, that is PSG, and Omondi Koyo, who is the Secretary General of the National Liberal Party, for creating time to be here. Thank you for all of you who have stayed with us since we began at 9 p.m. all the way to now. But I want to also, give you an idea here as a Kenyan to go online, check out the Kriegler report, and figure out what isn't being done right when it can actually go right. Thank you for watching. The whole team that made it happen, have a good night. Philip Omondi was on sign language, and my name is Anki Doris. Umbat, sleep well.
I am delighted to have opportunity today to stand before you as the son of Africa. I was born